out my wonderful... Here we go. Okay, it is Saturday afternoon, October 1st, at the Releasing Destiny Seminar in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is one of my back pockets, so I don't accidentally turn it off. Yes, I did turn the screen off. Thank you very much. All right, so...
Did you take a picture? Did you take a picture?
Of this what?
You said you wanted to take a picture.
Oh, I wanted to take a picture of everybody at the end. We'll take a picture of everybody before anybody leaves. Yes. I always tell the students we're going to take 4 pictures. 2 normal and 2 crazy. So, as long as crazy doesn't mean hurting your speaker. You know, it's one of my fun things to do. Like if I'm preaching at a church, and I never like to sit up front. You know, sometimes the pastors want you to sit up front, and and I understand they're trying to honor you and all of that, but I just don't like to do that. I like to sit out in the audience, and then when it's my time, they call me and I come up. And so I was at a church and I went into the lobby. It was during the church service. I went to get some water or go to the restroom or something. And this lady was coming in, and I noticed she spoke English. And I felt like having a little fun. I was being a little cheeky, as they say in Australia. And so I said, "Oh, do you know who's speaking tonight?" She says, "No, I don't know." I said, "Man, I hope he's not boring." And then I get up to speak, and I looked at her. She said, I love that. I love it. All right. So I told you that there are 4 boxes of identity that the enemy tries to put us in to get our identity from, instead of from the fact that we're sons and daughters. So you've got the list there in your booklet. So somebody holler out one of those boxes. And what page is that, by the way?
10.
Page 10. What you do. This is actually the biggest one. What you do. Now, here in Nashville, here in the U.S., when we meet somebody, it's like this. See if this is all right. "Hi, I'm Joseph. What's your name?"
Kathy.
"Hi, Kathy. Nice to meet you. What do you do?" We take about 2 or 3 seconds to find what box to put people in. And we make a judgment of them based upon what their answer is. And we think, if it's something really cool, like I direct movies in Hollywood. Really? Wow, who do you work with? Da, da, da. Sometimes when I'm feeling cheeky on a plane and someone asks me, "What do you do?" I like to say, "Oh, I'm a garbage collector." If you want to sleep a whole flight without being interrupted with conversation, tell people that you collect garbage. And then they'll think, "Oh, that's great." I said, No. I help take garbage out of people's lives. "Oh, you didn't think I was a real garbage collector, did you?" "Oh, well, that's better." So, we see with the orphan spirit, we compare ourselves with other people. And if people do something that we think is cooler than us, then we think less about ourselves. We feel bad, and then if we stay in that place, the natural progression is to get to the place of jealousy. Comparison leads to jealousy, which is judgment against God for being unfair to us. So, I like to think about when Jesus said on the last day, "Many will say to me." Now, Jesus never lied or exaggerated. Would you agree? So if he says many, he means many. He said, "Many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name? Didn't we cast out demons? Didn't we perform miracles?' And Jesus said, 'I will tell them plainly, away from me, you evil doers.'" Wait a cotton-picking minute here. Hold the phone. Did Jesus ever cast out demons? Yes or no?
Yes.
Did Jesus ever perform miracles? Did Jesus ever prophesy? So why was it evil when they did it, but not evil when Jesus did it? Because the next thing Jesus said, away from me, you evildoers, you didn't belong to the right church. No, I know it was, away from me, you evildoers, you didn't have enough quiet times. Because I count. Away from me, you evildoers, you didn't read your word enough. Away from me, you evildoers, you didn't do that short-term missions trip. You didn't go visit the prisoners or the sick. He doesn't talk about the doing. What made it evil with what they did is what he says, away from me, you evildoers, I never knew you. Now hold on again. How can Jesus say he never knew them? Because there are several verses in the Bible that talk about how Jesus was with the Father at creation. Everything was created through him, Hebrews 1. He holds all things together. How can he say he never knew us? Because he doesn't want to know us as Creator knows his creation. He wants to know us in relationship. You know what's funny? If you've ever seen a little kid, maybe it's their birthday. Imagine some little girl, it's her 8th birthday. And her dad spends it's a Saturday. He's off work, so he takes her to the park and, she gets to do the merry-go-round and chase butterflies, and he buys her a balloon, and they get ice cream and chase butterflies. They do all this fun stuff. And at the end of the day, what does the little kid do? She's had such an amazing day. She wants to recount to her dad everything that happened. Dad, wasn't that great when I did the Ferris wheel? Remember that butterfly? It landed on my nose. And that balloon we had, and I let go and it went up into the sky. And remember, man, that was so much fun. And I got a strawberry and a cherry ice cream. It was so good. Well, the father was there. Is a loving father going to say to the daughter, hello, I was there. You don't need to tell me this. I know all of this. What's a loving father going to do? They're going to melt with joy because their daughter wanted to share their joy with him. Of the joy they had of being with him. This is what the Father wants. This is what he's longing for us to be so completely intertwined with him. Our life to be completely revolved around being with him. That we can't help but tell people about who our Father is. How cool is this? But if you're stuck in what you do is who you are, you're going to miss it. So, all around the world, so many people are trapped in this. What you do is who you are. And we all have seasons where we're not doing as much or what we wanted to do or what we thought we should be doing. Those are the moments when what's really in our heart gets exposed. When you really find out what's in you, when you can't do. The fact of life, as you get older, you can't do the things you used to do. Things like combing hair. Our abilities to do things starts diminishing. And what are you left with? What you're left with is whatever you've invested on the inside. Our value is never in what we do. Our value is in whose we are. Because we can do nothing apart from him, but through Christ we can do all things. All right, tell me another box.
What you have.
What you have. Money, 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 money. Money. Okay, everything's a song. Sorry. All right, money. Let's see. Does anybody have a jacket I can borrow? Sweater, jacket? Okay, thanks. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, I've been there a lot. I love Buenos Aires. Thank you, sir. And the people there are called porteños because the city of Buenos Aires is a port city. There's a great river. By the time it gets to Buenos Aires and empties into the Atlantic, it's, I want to say, about 100 miles wide. And across that is Uruguay. So, tell me something that Buenos Aires is famous for.
Cattle.
Soccer and?
Cattle. I mean,
Well, it is the best beef in the world in Argentina.
Wine?
I'm thinking of a dance, yes. Mendoza wine is amazing. Think of a dance.
Macarena?
Huh? No, that's Brazil. Dance. A dance?
Macarena.
the tango.
Would everyone extend your hands toward him? Let's pray.
Tango?
Tango! Bingo! Exactly. Now, if you go to Buenos Aires on a weekday, on the streets, at lunchtime, I'm not making this up, I've seen it with my own eyes. If you find the porteño businessmen, they walk like they are on permanent tango. Everything is dramatic. It's like this. And they pose at the stop sign like they're about to be on page 52 of a J.C. Penney catalog or something. This comes in green, purple, and yellow. They have this look like, I really need to go to the bathroom and I can't find it. Now, if they're a wealthy porteño and the weather's chilly, they never put their arms through the sleeves of the jacket. No. The jacket simply rests on their shoulders. And do you know why they do this? It's so that if they find their dance partner, they can go. Now, you think I'm one night, $50,000. You have 24 people waiting on you for 24 hours at your call. I tell you, if I'm spending $50,000 for one night in a hotel, I better come out of there with a full head of hair. That's what I'm saying. So, I want you to imagine, whoops, I'm obviously not a porteño. This porteño comes into a nice hotel, this expensive hotel, comes up to the front desk. Hello, I would like your finest suite, please. No, don't tell me the cost. Put it on my super titanium platinum Martian Express card. It doesn't matter. Okay, give me 2 rooms, I don't care. Now, what reaction will they get from the person behind the front desk?
They're going to jump.
Oh, senor, we're so happy to have you. Would you like something to drink? Oh, please have a seat. Oh, come get his bags. Oh, sir, thank you so much for coming to see us. How can we just kiss your feet? Sir. Now, same hotel. Let's say that there's a side door to the lobby that goes out into an alleyway. And there's a guard that sits there. You know, there's a guard 24/7 at this door. But the guard happens to step away for about 10 seconds. It just so happens there's a homeless guy that comes in that door right at that moment. This homeless guy has lived on the streets for 2 years. He's barefoot. He hasn't changed clothes in 3 months. He has cuts and dried blood and scars, and his clothes, you don't even know what color they originally were. He hasn't slept in 2 days. He hasn't eaten in 2 days. And he comes into this hotel. Just as the security comes into the lobby. Wow. He comes up to the front desk. He says, hi. He says, can you help me? He says, I need a room, and I know you guys don't fill up all these rooms, and I'm just tired, and do you have any food? Because I know you guys throw food away in these restaurants, and I can't find the dumpster, and I just want some food. Can I have some food? Can you help me, please? What reaction will they get from the front desk? Oh, get away from here. Security, take him away. We don't let people like you in here. Get out of here now. You know what? I used to be in the travel business, and I stayed in those kind of hotels. I never paid for it. If they only knew what life was like back home. But I've seen both of those reactions. Those are very real reactions. And what's the only difference in these two guys?
Money.
Money, 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 money. You see, when you get your identity from what you have, like that, you could lose it all. And then who are you? You see, once, whatever you put your weight on, make sure it's something that can't move. When you put your weight on your identity in being His son or daughter, that doesn't change. Whether you have everything or nothing, you're still His son or daughter. You're not defined by the world tells you to be defined by. You're defined by who your Father says you are. That doesn't change. That's eternal. We could talk a lot more about this. Okay, tell me another box. How you look. Let's do this one. I'm a drawer, so I gotta draw. And I just came back from Rio, Brazil, so that's my inspiration. How you look. How much money, we need to pray for her. Okay. How much money is spent collectively all over the whole world every day, for people trying to get beautiful? Cosmetics, beauty creams. I was visiting a house in Brazil, and I had to go. They told me to go get something out of the daughter's bathroom. His one daughter. I stopped counting at 200 the number of beauty products right around the sink and the bathtub. Shampoos, conditioners, perfumes, creams. I have no idea what all this stuff is for. How much money is spent on like health clubs, on diet pills, on cosmetic surgery? You know what they told me in Caracas, Venezuela? I was teaching there. They said, do you know that girls as young as, listen to this, girls as young as 12 years old are getting plastic surgery? They haven't even been through puberty yet. And if they happen to be wealthy, which is very few people in Venezuela, but if they happen to be wealthy, their favorite gift they want for their birthday at age 12 is a boob job. Because the greatest goal, if you're a little girl growing up in Venezuela, is to grow up and be Miss Universe. Because then I'll be somebody and people will like me. And the pressure is so great. Let me ask you this. God only knows the answer to this, but how many people every day all over the world take their own life because they're tired of fighting this battle trying to get beautiful and they can't make the world's standards? You see, there's one problem with getting your identity from how you look. There's several. Your looks change. And even if you are Brad Pitt today, there will be a time when the world has moved on from you. You were yesterday's flavor of the month, they moved on to somebody else, and you get relegated to being the yesterday star. Because there's this insatiable hunger for new, fresh, exciting, because we believe the lie that God thinks you're beautiful just the way you are. You know what I was known for in high school?
Hair.
My hair. Justin Bieber, eat your heart out. If you can get past the bow tie, which is bigger than Oklahoma. This is me at 17 years old.
Woo! Wow. That's awesome.
Yes, that is really me. No Photoshop.
So, Joseph,
Yes, 76. Huh?
I just have to give the personal testimony that girls would look at Joseph here in college and say, his hair is so beautiful, I wish my hair looked like that.
When I went to my first high school reunion, the 10-year reunion, all these girls came up to me and said, Joseph, where's your beautiful hair? I said, it went down the drain in the bathroom like my dad's and my brother's hair. So, all my life growing up, we weren't allowed to have long hair. Because my dad, he cut our hair, save money. He had a razor. He had one style, buzz cut. He was never in the military, but you would never know it from our haircuts. And I went to a high school that didn't let you have hair below your collars. I went to Lipscomb Christian College, which had the same principle. You can't go over your collars. I get out of school, I have jobs that don't let you have long hair. I'm like, dadgummit, my hair's starting to fall out, and I've never had the opportunity to have long hair. And then I did my DTS in Australia. I had 6 months of the school, so I decided to start letting my hair grow. All 7 of them. And so, I actually was able to let my hair grow for 2 years. And until I was best man in a wedding in Hawaii of a YWAM buddy, and his wife came up to me the day before the wedding with tears. She said, it's my wedding, please let me get your hair cut. I'll pay for it, but I just can't have you wear that in my wedding. Okay. So this is me at my prime. I love this picture so much so that when I have my own office, I will blow this up big and frame it. This just makes me happy. And I have the big, lamb chop sideburns. So this is really my hair.
Nice.
People see this and they immediately go into intercession.
Wow.
We can't see it.
It's like the face that you would pull your kids away. No! Or see my face in a...
Do you have a skull? Is that your
No, that's all scalp.
Oh my God.
Oh my. Like a poster child for something. I don't know what.
What year was that?
This would have been, goodness, about 20 years ago. Probably about 95.
I'm glad you're not in those wedding pictures like that, Joseph.
What's that?
I'm glad you're not in those wedding pictures like that. That was a good thing she did for you.
Hair today, gone tomorrow. You know the Bible talks about Absalom, David's son, who had this amazing hair. Like beautiful, beautiful hair, and every time he'd cut it, it was really, really heavy. I decided I'm going to redeem his hair. So you'll get to heaven, and you'll look on one of these hillsides, the beautiful, like a sunset glow, and you'll see this silhouette of someone standing there, and their hair blowing in the breeze, and you say, who's that? Oh, that's Joseph. Hey, I'm a dreamer, okay? What can I say? All right. So the problem with getting your identity from how you look is your looks will change and the standard that the world says will change. But you know what? The Bible says you're beautiful. And this is not your parents telling you because they have to. Oh, you look great. Oh, Lord, help my child. No. God says in the Word you're beautiful. Ecclesiastes 3:11. God has put eternity in their hearts, and He has time. 2 questions. Did God make you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was your time 2,000 years ago? Was your time 300 years ago? Is your time 2016? Well, guess what? According to the Word of God, you're beautiful. If you don't believe you're beautiful, you've been listening to the liar. Who are you listening to? Because if you don't see your own beauty, you can't tell somebody in an Old Navy checkout line at 5:45 on Christmas Eve that they're beautiful. You can't give what you don't have. There's a singer in New Zealand named Steve Apirana. He's a Maori Christian singer. And great guy. He's like a big teddy bear. You know, he's a big guy and you'd be afraid of him if you just saw him. But when you heard him speak or sing, he's got a soft voice and he's just an amazing guy. So he was giving a concert and in between songs, he was just playing his guitar. Whoa, shaky. He was playing his guitar and talking to the audience. And so he says, you know what? One time I say to God, I say, hey God, what do you think of me? And God said, you're beautiful. I said, God, I know you think I'm beautiful inside. I'm not beautiful outside. And God said, no, you're beautiful outside. I said, God, look at me. I got big head, I got big hair, I got big nose. My face looks like the face of the moon. I got no neck. I'm no beautiful. Now you know what God said to me? No, Steve, you physically beautiful to me. So you know what? I don't care what you think. My Father said I'm beautiful, so I am beautiful. You know whether you should laugh or cry. Because he's not going to be on the cover of any fashion magazines. But beauty comes from the inside. Someone who knows they're loved is the most beautiful thing in the world. Let me say that again. Someone who knows they are loved is the most beautiful thing in the world. And if you're letting the enemy constantly tell you it's not enough, you need to do something about it. All those billions of dollars that are spent every day by people trying to do what the world tells them they must do. I remember I was in Switzerland with some YWAMers one time. We were at an outdoor cafe, and this obviously very wealthy couple came up to the restaurant. They parked their Rolls-Royce convertible. Oh, I was wishing I could be a valet and park their car for them. The couple, the husband was probably 80, close to 80. You know, dressed to the nines. The wife was an indecipherable age. Her hair was some nuclear color. I mean, and she had had so much plastic surgery. It's like her eyebrows were up here, you know. And she couldn't even close her lips. You know, Botox everywhere. She had, you know, lots of jewelry and everything. She was dressed very fashionable. And, you know, they're both kind of walking like this. And I felt so incredibly sorry for her. Because she had the money to do all the things the world says you must do to be beautiful. And at some point, we'll run into that wall of, wait a minute, something's wrong here. All these things the world is telling me I must do, they're not working. And see, it's always more and more of an expense. What if all that money that the world spends every day in trying to get beautiful after believing the lies from the enemy, what if that money were spent on things like feeding people who are starving to death? Okay, last box. Yes, sir.
There's one scripture Warren talks about that in Psalm 139:14, just before.
Yes.
You are beautiful. What does it say? I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well.
Yes.
It's like it's about His character. He doesn't make.
That's right. That's right. Bingo.
He doesn't like junk.
God doesn't make junk. That's exactly right. I love that my picture's on His refrigerator in heaven. Just as I am. You know? how you see yourself is a reflection of what you think of God. If you don't think you're beautiful, then you think God is not beautiful. And that's one of His names in the Old Testament. Not just a title, not just an adjective. One of His names in the Old Testament is altogether lovely. Capital A, capital L. In Hebrew, it is a name, not a description, a name. He is altogether lovely. It's like, hey, how you doing altogether? It's a name of God. And when you don't see yourself as beautiful, it's because you have not gotten a good, accurate picture of God and His beauty and His glory and His splendor. The splendor of the Lord. Okay, last box.
What you know.
What you know. Oh my goodness, we're living in the Athens of the South, where we value education and we love people who have degrees behind their names because they're smart. And we think that smartness comes from a piece of paper on the wall. Let me show you why that's such an incredible lie. You know, I won't write it on the board. Yay, because you have it in your little book. I want you to look at the learning styles. Or they call these intelligences. We're talking about boxes of identity. I'm sorry, I don't know what page. Let's go back. What you know.
The intelligences? Is that what you're
Wait, here we go. Well, I don't have learning styles in here. I know I put it in here somewhere.
Page 13?
13.
Do it at 13.
Top 13.
Yeah. Thank you. There are 8 different learning styles, 8 different ways that we learn. Now, we have all 8 of them in us in different order. We have all 8 of these in us in different order. So you can learn in all 8 ways. I want you to think of it this way. Imagine that you have a house. And this house has many doors to it. And you have a front door, you have a back door, you have a door to your bedrooms, to your bathrooms, to your kitchen, to your garage, to your closet, whatever. But which one of all of the doors in your house has the most locks on it? The front door. This is like the learning style that is the strongest for you. If someone teaches you in the way that you learn best, it's like they're coming in the front door. Then it's easier for you to learn in all the other ways. So, very quick, you can see there, the linguistic learning style is people who learn best by words. They usually have good vocabulary. They love to research and study, that kind of thing, because words really opens their mind to learning. Mathological people, I have no idea what that's like, but these are rational, orderly, linear people who color inside the lines and follow the rules. God bless those people. These are people who become architects and, not architects, engineers and accountants and mathematicians and that sort of thing. Very rational thinking. I come from a family of that. I got the other genes that they didn't. Spatial, this is my number 1 learning style. This is visual. These are people who learn best through visual stimuli. It would be like everything is a picture for visual people. They learn best by filling up spaces. For me, a very spatial thing would be like architecture, photography, graphic design, all of that's me. It's about filling space. It's about like ordering a room, like interior design, ordering a room. I love to go to YWAM base, and they'll take me to the hospitality room where they want me to stay. And if I come in the room and it's not organized well, I'm like, oh no, this will never do. And I will completely move the bed around, the furniture. I'll change the whole room. Okay, now, this is good. And then they'll come to the door to knock on the door to bring me something. They're like, what have you done with the room? I fixed it. You should have had it this way all along, but that's why I'm here. God sent me to fix it for you. So, spatial are people who love to fill spaces. Whether it's a room with furniture, or a piece of paper with graphic design, or a camera lens with a picture, or whatever. Musical. We've often thought of musical as just a talent or a hobby or an interest, but it's actually a learning style. A lot of people learn best when music is played. Something about the rhythms and the harmonies and the different tempos and the different genres of music unlocks their brain to learn. That's their front door. And oh, by the way, I'm utterly convinced that this current millennial generation is the highest in spatial and in musical than any generation before in history. Why? Because of technology. They grow up with, if you want your computer fixed, get a 6-year-old to help you. They grow up, I've seen babies being able to find their games and play their games on a little computer. They grow up being able to create their own videos on their phones, download them, and by their 13, they're signing a record contract. Justin Bieber. So the musical and the spatial is very strong today. Next is bodily kinesthetic. Body, they have what we say a great physicality. They solve problems through physical things. They have a good sense of tactile. These would be people who become good athletes or good dancers. I actually saw Michael Jackson in concert one time, Neyland Stadium. Unbelievable. There were 95,000 people screaming because I thought, that can't be human, there's got to be cables. And I'm looking through binoculars, there were no cables. The guy could dance like nobody I've ever seen in person. Incredible bodily kinesthetic ability. If you've ever watched pictures of Michael Jordan when he's playing basketball, he would just start taking flight about mid-court. He just kind of walks on the clouds and decides to come down to earth at the goal and dunk it, right? Professional athletes, professional dancers, this is what they have. It's an incredible bodily kinesthetic thing. These are people who like to hug. That would be a good love language for them, is the physical touch. Next is interpersonal. These are people who learn best around other people. Let me show you real quick ways to help you understand that. If you've got a submarine, the submarine is in the ocean, and they want to know how deep the water is below them. How do they find out how deep the ocean is? Sonar. They will send a signal down. It will come down. It will bounce off the ocean floor, and they know how fast that sonar is traveling, and they'll count the time that it takes for that signal to come back to them, and that will tell them the depth of the sea. This is like interpersonal learners. They've got to have other people around to learn. Let me show it to you another way. Has anybody here studied art? You guys studied art? Nobody? My goodness. We need to all have art class. All right, I can write the word art like that. Everybody see that? Or I can write it like this. Okay, can you see the word art? Did I draw the letters or did I draw the space around it? I drew what's called the negative space. And it helped reveal the letters that were there. This is like interpersonal learners. They must have other people around them because the reflection off of others who are wired differently helps them see how they're wired. If you have a little child who's high interpersonal learner, then he wants all his friends to come over while he does his homework. And if the parents are not interpersonal learners, then that's a distraction for them. They couldn't learn that way, so they impose their learning style on their kids. They say, now tell your friends to go home. You need to study. What they don't understand, as soon as the friends leave, they stop learning. Maybe the kid is a very high musical learner, and maybe the parents are not. I've seen many families where the kid has musical ability, and the parents say, it beats the life of me out of where they got that from. My brother says that. All three of his sons play piano. He's like, I have no idea where it came from, because he nor his wife have any musical ability at all. All my brother's abilities in sports. And yet his kids have this. Well, if a kid is a high musical learner and they have music blaring while they're studying, and the parents are not musical, they might say, now turn that music off, you need to do your homework. Because that's not how they're wired. And what the parents don't understand is as soon as that music gets turned off, the kid stops learning. So, this is spatial, musical, interpersonal is you need other people. Intrapersonal is the opposite. These are people who learn best by themselves. These might be people who take a lot of notes, but they don't really start learning until they find a quiet place by themselves to start processing all this stuff. These are people who have a great ability to process and analyze. They think about these things. They love to get to a place where, away from everyone, where they can be alone with themselves and start processing things. And lastly is naturalistic learners. This does not mean people who learn best in the nude. Naturalistic, now Marcia, I know. So, naturalistic learners are people who learn best by being in nature, because one of the greatest arguments against evolution is the interconnectedness of everything around us. That implies one designer. And naturalistic learners, when they are in nature, with this incredible patterns of nature between the animal world and the plant world, and the fish and the sky and winds that carry seeds and all of this stuff, the interconnectedness and the patterns of nature unlocks their brain. And I often, when I'm teaching, if it's good weather, and especially if we're near a beach, I will always get a word from God that we're supposed to have one day of the week having class at the beach. And the staff always confirm that word from God. It's amazing. But naturalistic learners, there's something about getting outside. Now when I'm teaching, I try to hit all 8 learning styles. I'm always talking, so that hits the linguistic learners. I'm always drawing pictures and using colors, that hits the spatial people, and I'm giving lists, that hits the mathological people. I might sing a song for the musical people. I might tell stories, and that brings interpersonal people together. Sometimes, if we'd had more time, I would have each of you answer one of the 700 questions I've written. I've had an icebreaker question book. When I get to 1,000, I think I'll publish it. But everybody gets a different question. And that's for the intrapersonal people. So, because for you to answer your question, you've got to go to a place in your mind nobody else can go with you. And then I'll either take them outside, and there's a reason why this spoon is wooden and not metal. I bring nature in. You'd think, yeah, really? Something as simple as bringing in a piece of wood helps people who are naturalistic learners. Back in Tonga, you remember the guys that counted the sand? We were talking about spiritual gifts, and one day, one morning, I felt like God said, go to the market and get some pineapples. I said, okay, got 2 pineapples. Came to class, I divided them into 2, and we had talked the day before about the motivational gifts in the Bible. So I threw a pineapple to each group. I said, okay, I want you to discuss in your group, how is that pineapple like each of the motivational gifts from God? 7 motivational gifts. So they talked, and then we had each group share I started taking notes, which I still have that page of notes. It was unbelievable what they were coming up with. Because so many of these indigenous cultures are so high in naturalistic learning. You'll notice when you look at this list, different countries are more famous for different learning styles. What learning style would you think is very high for Germans?
Logical.
Mathological, out the wazoo. I mean, if you want a building built that will last till Jesus comes back, have a German build it. They do everything with excellence. Engineers, all craftsmen, all that stuff. What about, which country would you think of for linguistic?
Ireland.
England. They have, I forget how many hundreds of times the number of libraries per capita that we do. The English is very, very, the keepers of the English language and all this. What country might you think of as musical? Can you think of any? There's several.
Austria.
For music, Italy? Not so much. Which one?
Austria.
Austria? Yeah, you got Mozart and all those guys.
Brazil.
Brazil, definitely.
U.S.
They just can't keep still. Which one did you say?
U.S.
U.S.? Yeah, you could make an argument for that. So many learning styles started here that have been expanded, like jazz and bluegrass and all this. Huh?
Cuba.
Yeah. The Buena Vista Social Club, love it. So, all these different learning styles, there's some countries that will be really high in one or the other. But you and I have all 8 of those in us in different order. But here's the problem. With Greek thinking, and we don't really have time to go into Greek thinking, but I've got a great list in there for you about what Greek thought looks like. With Greek thinking, they only honor 2 learning styles. Linguistic and mathological. That's it. So everything that is taught in linguistic or mathological style. And that's how they test you as well. Well, the problem is that only about 30% of the world have one or both of those as their top learning style. And if you have that as a high learning style, then you'll do well in school. And everybody will tell you you're smart. But if that's not a high learning style for you, like the other 70%, the school will tell you you're not smart. And they have very euphemistic ways of telling you. Pardon the pun, but kids are not dumb. They know what you're saying when you tell them, oh, you're a special learner. Just go ahead and tell me you think I'm stupid, okay? But God didn't make anyone stupid. Let me prove it from Scripture. Is Jesus stupid? Yes or no? Well, the Bible says we have the mind of Christ. If you don't think you're smart, that's one of the stupidest things you can believe. We all have different kinds of smart. And of course the enemy would want us to think we're not smart, because if we don't think we're smart, then we won't dream. We think that's for the smart people. It doesn't matter what I think. I'm not a big important person. Does this make sense? Why don't we take a brief little break and then we'll have one last session. How about that? You okay? I'm totally blowing the schedule out of the water, but hey, we're free in Jesus and we're all kids, right? So have a break.